The World Cup tournament, this will be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to showcase the greatness of America.
Boycotting the upcoming World Cup games in the U.S., the local World Cup committee has been expecting hundreds of thousands of visitors to travel to the Metro when the matches kick off from now.
The German politician Jürgen Hart, a member of the Christian Democratic Union, has raised the idea of a potential World Cup boycott in a...
The countdown to World Cup 2026 was supposed to be a celebration of football's global reach, a historic tournament spread across the United States, Canada, and Mexico that would expand the competition to 48 teams and 104 matches for the first time ever. Instead, a political firestorm is tearing through European football. Petitions demanding boycotts are circulating across the continent. Lawmakers are speaking openly about withdrawal. Former FIFA leadership figures are urging fans to stay away entirely. And what should have been the biggest festival of sport in history is now tangled in immigration crackdowns, military interventions, and accusations that the world's most popular tournament is being weaponized as a political spectacle. The question is no longer about tactics, title favorites, or World Cup dreams. It's whether the event itself can even unfold without becoming something far more dangerous and divisive than anyone imagined. In the Netherlands, more than 150,000 citizens signed a petition urging their national team to boycott the 2026 World Cup in the United States. That's not a small number. That represents one of the largest football-related civic petitions in Dutch history. And it signals just how deeply this controversy has cut into public consciousness. The petition, launched by a prominent journalist, argues that participation would risk turning players into unwilling symbols in a political campaign they never signed up for. The Royal Dutch Football Association, KNVB, has declined to commit to a boycott so far and says it will continue monitoring developments, but the pressure is absolutely relentless and shows no signs of easing. Germany is experiencing nearly identical tension. CDU lawmaker Jürgen Hart has publicly proposed that Germany seriously reconsider its participation entirely. While Germany's Football Federation has officially rejected a boycott for now, voices inside German football remain restless and increasingly vocal. Olaf Gut, vice president of the German Football Association and chairman of FC Sancti, has called for serious consideration of withdrawal. Perhaps most shocking, a survey of 1,000 Germans found that 47% would support a boycott if the United States were to annex Greenland, reflecting just how deeply foreign policy rhetoric has seeped into sports culture and public opinion. France has taken a slightly more cautious tone publicly. President of the French National Olympic and Sports Committee, Amélie Oudéa-Castéra, stated that a boycott is not under active consideration at this stage. Belgium has emphasized sporting preparation and deliberately avoided political commentary. But in the United Kingdom, the pressure is mounting fast. Conservative MP Simon Clarke has called on England, Scotland, and Wales to boycott the tournament, specifically to embarrass Donald Trump on the global stage. Liberal Democrat MP Layla Moran argued that public pressure through boycotts may be the only language certain leaders actually understand. And in France, Éric Coquerel of La France and Suizem has floated the radical idea of shifting hosting duties entirely to Canada and Mexico, cutting the United States out of the tournament altogether. Across Europe, this debate is no longer confined to sports pages or football forums. It's unfolding in parliaments and national news broadcasts, dominating political discourse in ways that would have been unthinkable just months ago. And then came the intervention that truly escalated everything. Former FIFA president Sepp Blatter, largely silent since leaving office under scandal, publicly backed Swiss lawyer Mark Partl's call for fans to avoid traveling to the United States for the tournament. Blatter's intervention is significant, not because he commands any official power anymore, but because it underscores just how unusual and dangerous this moment feels, even to veterans of football governance who have seen decades of controversy. The roots of this backlash stretch far beyond sport. Immigration enforcement inside the United States has intensified dramatically, with expanded travel bans affecting several countries expected to participate in the World Cup. Reports of tighter visa scrutiny and arbitrary rejections have circulated widely across social media. During preparations for the 2025 Club World Cup, members of Iran's delegation reportedly struggled to secure visas, with only 4 of 9 officials granted entry for the December 2025 draw. Incidents involving asylum seekers detained near MetLife Stadium during that tournament deepened anxieties about how visiting fans might be treated come 2026. For supporters traveling from Africa, Asia, and the Middle East, uncertainty about entry procedures and the potential for detention has become a central part of the conversation, and it's killing excitement for the tournament. But immigration policy alone does not explain the scale of European anger. The larger rupture stems from a series of geopolitical moves that critics describe as destabilizing and reckless. Donald Trump has repeatedly threatened to seize Greenland, an autonomous territory of Denmark and a NATO ally, has proposed tariffs of 10% on goods from Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, and Finland, effectively launching a trade war against America's closest European partners. Hess suggested that Canada could become the 51st state and warned of potential military action against Mexico. The most dramatic and shocking escalation came on January 3rd, 2026, when Operation Absolute Resolve unfolded in Venezuela. According to official statements, more than 150 United States military aircraft were deployed in what critics describe as an invasion. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife were captured and flown to New York for trial. 32 Cuban soldiers were reportedly killed while attempting to protect Maduro. The United States announced it would administer Venezuela moving forward. International reaction was swift and polarized. Supporters framed it as decisive action against a dictator, while critics describe it as the unilateral arrest of a sitting head of state and a dangerous precedent in international law that could justify similar actions by Russia, China, or other powers. Against that explosive backdrop, World Cup 2026 began to look less like a sporting event and more like a political platform. And that's where FIFA's conduct becomes absolutely critical to understanding European fury. In March 2025, the White House created a dedicated task force for FIFA World Cup 2026. Donald Trump was named chair. Vice President J.D. Vance became vice chair. Andrew Giuliani, son of Rudy Giuliani, was appointed executive director. And FIFA President Gianni Infantino became a frequent presence at the White House, blurring the lines between international sport and American political power. The symbolism intensified dramatically in July 2025 at the Club World Cup final. Trump had kept the tournament trophy in the Oval Office since March, treating FIFA's property like a personal decoration. When Chelsea won the final on July 13th, they were handed a replica while the original remained in Washington. Trump stayed on the podium during the entire celebration, even as Infantino appeared to signal for him to step aside. Players like Cole Palmer and Reece James looked visibly uncertain and uncomfortable as the ceremony unfolded. Trump took a medal and casually placed it in his suit pocket like a souvenir. The images spread globally within hours, feeding perceptions that football's biggest stage was being woven into a nationalist political narrative. Infantino's own conduct has drawn withering scrutiny. He was present at Mar-a-Lago on election night in November 2024 and attended Trump's inauguration on January 20th, 2025. Speaking about working together to make not only America great again, but the entire world. FIFA opened an office inside Trump Tower in July 2025, and on December 5th, 2025, at the World Cup draw, Infantino presented Trump with the inaugural FIFA Peace Prize, titled Football Unites the World. The award was created shortly after Trump brokered a Congo-Rwanda peace agreement and only days after renewed threats regarding Greenland. Several FIFA Council members reportedly learned about the prize through a press release. They were not consulted. Human rights group Fair Square filed a formal complaint with FIFA's Ethics Committee. Infantino defended the decision publicly, stating Trump objectively deserved recognition. But it did not stop there. Infantino later announced that Trump would personally present the World Cup trophy to the champions on July 19, 2026, making him the centerpiece of the tournament's most iconic moment. For critics across Europe, the optics are absolutely toxic. Every match risks being interpreted through a political lens. Every ceremony becomes another opportunity for association with policies many Europeans find deeply objectionable. The fear isn't that football is political in theory. It's that it's being deliberately harnessed as a promotional instrument, during a period of volatile and aggressive foreign policy. History offers precedent, though none quite like this. The United States led a boycott of the 1980 Moscow Olympics to protest the Soviet Union invasion of Afghanistan. The Soviets did not withdraw, and many American athletes lost their only chance to compete. During the 1978 World Cup in Argentina, hosted under a brutal military dictatorship, fierce debates raged about whether participation legitimized the regime. German legend Paul Brinter warned athletes should never become pawns in political games. The 2018 World Cup proceeded in Russia after the annexation of Crimea. Qatar 22 hosted despite widespread criticism over labor conditions and migrant worker deaths. FIFA awarded the 2034 tournament to Saudi Arabia despite ongoing human rights concerns. Supporters of World Cup 2026 argue that consistency matters. If prior tournaments went forward amid controversy, singling out this one risks selective outrage. They emphasize that 48 teams from every continent are preparing for historic expansion. Broadcasters, sponsors, and federations have invested billions. FIFA projects the tournament will generate approximately $10 billion in revenue and create more than 290,000 jobs in the United States. 78 matches are scheduled in US cities, with 13 in Canada and 13 in Mexico. Contracts are signed. Infrastructure is underway. Analysts assess the likelihood of a full-scale boycott as extremely low. But numbers alone do not calm this debate. Canada and Mexico find themselves in complex positions. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney faces annexation rhetoric from Washington, while Mexican officials express concern about threats of unilateral military action. Behind closed doors, football executives are weighing financial obligations against reputational catastrophe. Public opinion appears dangerously fluid. Grassroots campaigns continue gathering signatures. Social media amplifies every visa dispute, every diplomatic remark, every uncomfortable ceremony. Between June 11th and July 19th, 2026, the spotlight will not rest solely on goals and celebrations. It will shine on governments, institutions, and choices made under enormous pressure. The tournament will measure how far political influence can reach into international sport, and whether federations, players, and fans are prepared to draw a line when that influence feels overwhelming. Europe isn't just angry. Europe is declaring that FIFA has crossed a line, and the consequences may reshape global football forever.